Understanding the nuances between an anti-hero and an anti-villain can be tricky, even though these terms have become increasingly popular, especially with the rise of characters like Deadpool, the Suicide Squad, Venom, and Black Adam in films. Let's break down these concepts in detail. What is an anti-hero? An anti-hero is a central character in a story, be it a movie, TV series, novel, or comic, who lacks conventional heroic attributes. While their actions often align with what a good character might do, their motivations are typically not noble or selfless. Even if they end up saving the world, their primary drive is usually for their own benefit or survival. A clear example of this can be seen with the Suicide Squad. They undertake seemingly heroic missions to save the world, performing acts that might appear like those of a traditional superhero. However, their motivations aren't rooted in a love for humanity or a desire to do good. Instead, they act because Amanda Waller will detonate bombs implanted in their heads if they don't comply. Their heroic actions are purely self-preservation. Similarly, Venom often fights against greater evils, but his choices are largely driven by his own symbiotic needs or his host's personal agenda, rather than a commitment to justice for its own sake. Essentially, if a narrative features characters who might traditionally be considered villains, but they become the main protagonists, they are functioning as anti-heroes within that story. This isn't limited to superhero genres. Characters like Maleficent and Cruella, traditionally villains, become anti-heroes in their standalone films, where their backstories and complex motivations are explored, often garnering audience sympathy. Despite their morally ambiguous actions, Black Adam is another prime example. He ultimately defeats a major villain, but he's far from a traditional hero. His methods are brutal, and his sense of justice is harsh and absolute, stemming from his own experiences and power rather than a universal code of ethics. Deadpool is perhaps the most iconic anti-hero that comes to mind for many. In Deadpool 2, he even sacrifices himself to prevent a child from becoming a villain, seemingly a heroic act. Yet despite such moments, he doesn't become a superhero, as he himself might say. He might be super, but he's certainly not a hero. His crass humor, disregard for rules, and often selfish motivations keep him firmly in the anti-hero category. What is an anti-villain? An anti-villain, on the other hand, is a character who isn't the main protagonist and isn't necessarily good, but their malicious actions are driven by noble intentions or a warped sense of morality. They believe they are doing the right thing, even if their methods are unethical, destructive, or horrifying. Characters like Thanos, Killmonger, and Magneto are excellent examples of anti-villains, though they can also be seen purely as villains. Depending on the narrative context, Thanos genuinely believes that wiping out half of all life in the universe is the only way to save it from inevitable resource depletion, a fate his own planet suffered. His goal, universal balance and prosperity, is in his mind good. However, his method of achieving it, mass genocides, undeniably evil and unjust. His ultimate sacrifice in pursuit of this goal underscores his twisted dedication. Killmonger from Black Panther also fits this mold. He believes his father was wronged and that Wakanda's advanced technology should be used to empower oppressed people globally, even if it means inciting a world war. While his desire to help his people and challenge systemic injustice is understandable, his violent and aggressive approach makes him a villain. He seeks to prove his worthiness to rule Wakanda and use its power to assert its dominance, not just for his own gain, but for what he perceives as the greater good of a marginalized people. Magneto, from the X-Men series, is another classic anti-villain. His extreme actions against humanity stem from his deep-seated fear and trauma of human prejudice against mutants. He believes that mutants must assert their dominance to survive, as humans will always oppress them. His goal is the protection and liberation of mutants, a noble aim, but his methods involve terrorism and violence against innocent humans. My personal favorite anti-villain is Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones. He tirelessly worked to restore the Lannister family's honor and power, which had dwindled under his father. He was incredibly skilled and pragmatic. While his actions were often ruthless, they were usually strategically sound and legally permissible within the framework of West. He never betrayed the Seven Kingdoms, nor did he betray his family for personal power. Despite having the power to seize the Iron Throne, he never did, as he disdained the stain of being labeled a usurper or traitor. Throughout the series, he never broke any laws or rules. He consistently worked for the good of his family and the realm. Yet no one would ever consider him a good person. He's the embodiment of an anti-villain. Noble intentions for his house and the realm executed with brutal efficiency, leaving no room for sympathy or moral praise. Hopefully, this detailed explanation has clarified the distinctions between an anti-hero and an anti-villain for you.